This conference will now be recorded.
In the meanwhile, other guys are also joining us. Let me have a quick recap of the topics what we covered in the last class. As of now, till date, we discussed few of the capabilities in Python with the help of which I can read the data. I can handle the variables like columns. I can filter the data using the indexing component. I can delete the columns. We also discussed the grouping and summarization in the last class and the sorting part. So these are the things what we covered and discussed in the last session. Primarily in the session today, I will be discussing what is merging and appending in detail. This is going to be the agenda for session today. And in the verbal communication, I will also talk about what is binning, so that we can have an idea what the binning and bucketing is all about. So this is what the agenda we are going to have in today's class. And in the next class, we will talk about the missing values, outliers, duplicates. So this is what the agenda we have for the next couple of sessions. And primarily in the session today, we will be focusing on merging and appending. Now, before I jump into walking through with all these things, I would like to mention that uh, merging is being called as join. So, whatever you have the understanding with join and SQL is what exactly the merging we typically call there in Python or R. To a certain extent, you also get the same flavor from VLOOKUP, correct? VLOOKUP is something which I'm saying that it is not exactly the joins, but it gives you the flavor of join to a certain extent what we have in Microsoft Excel. Does that make sense to everyone? Aditi, Akshay, Hitesh, Nikita?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, coming back to this point, when I say merging, I would like to mention that there are few key areas what you need to focus upon. So here we go, merging. So could any one of you let me know the definition of merging as per your understanding? So these two things, both of these two things actually comes under the headline of uh, appending the data or data
Combining two data
combination.
sets.
Yep, combining two data sets. That's correct, Aditi. What else?
Just now you have said combination of data or
Yep,
appending
but
data.
not appending. Appending is altogether a different vertical. We cannot anyhow consider appending into this context. Merging is one thing. Appending. I'm concerned about what is merging as of now.
Merging.
Combining two. Go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
Hitesh.
Okay. Yeah, you please go
Go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead. Okay, so merging is joining basically combination combining two data sets based on similar column. So
Okay,
similar
got
and
that.
Primary key basically we can say.
Okay,
yeah.
makes sense to me as well. Hitesh, anything else you would like to add into this part?
I mean, merging for me could be either vertically or horizontally. As we said, lookup is like vertical merging of data by
Okay,
certain
so let me make it very clear. I just mentioned that VLOOKUP gives you a flavor of join, but it cannot be considered as a typical tool as an alternative you have in Excel. No, just a flavor. Okay, that means partially.
So, merging could be, merging of two data sets or two tables
Mhm.
based on certain conditions.
Based on certain condition. Okay. So anyone else? Anshul, would you like to add into this conversation? What is merging as per your understanding?
Anshul is not here, Akshay, I think.
So there is someone AG called, like I thought it is Anshul Gupta.
I thought it's you.
Not really. I am double A.
IUAA.
I guess that was Anshul
Was,
only.
but where is he? Anshul,
All
we are not in
right.
talking terms today.
That's my statement. It is.
So it's your session, it's your, it's your place.
Yeah. Perfect. I like that. All right. It would be fun to catch you up, guys. So let's plan any time to meet you up there in the campus, or maybe like anytime. It would be fun meeting
So
you all there.
you're based in Gurgaon, right?
Yeah, I'm based up in Gurgaon. Keep on coming to Cyber for the meetings and some seminars or something like that. Otherwise, my office is there in front of passport office. Earlier, my office was in Cyber only, but now that got shifted.
Hello.
Most likely, I would be coming to HSBC for interview, so we can like meet up there itself.
Wow.
Wow,
Which team, which
fantastic.
department? We may assist you or we may help
Like
you rather.
functional testing, they have basically called me for the functional testing profile. So not sure what they want me to do, but they have called me for functional testing. Mansi Mahajan is someone who has called me.
She's HR. She's HR.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
once you appear, just let us know. We'll
yeah, yeah. So
meet
Hitesh
and
and Amit will pull you up there for a data science role. Don't worry.
Okay.
definitely. And we can, Ankur, we can certainly have lunch here. We have very popular restaurant opposite to our office. It's
Wow.
named as Raj Restaurant.
Wow.
On the other side, we have Woods. That's another good place to
Woods I
visit.
have heard a lot. Woods really I have heard a lot because my wife keeps on going there with her office colleagues. So I have heard a lot about Woods. So definitely would love to meet everyone there, like Amit, Hitesh, Nikita. I mean Nikita for sure wouldn't be there. But yeah, all the HSBC folks at one single place would be like a good time to spend with. That's something which I
Yeah,
would
it'll be good.
definitely love.
Akshay, when are you coming?
Perfect.
Akshay, when are
They
you
haven't
coming here?
confirmed they haven't confirmed the dates yet. So it's like fingers crossed, would they be calling me or not? So that's the thing.
I know few people in functional testing team.
Okay.
They
Which
people
team is it?
like it.
Eddie, Aditi? Which team is it?
Hitesh, they people used to sit on fourth floor. I am not sure about the manager's name, but I have a friend named Yogesh Gogia who
Manoj
works in the
Sharma's
same.
area you're referring to?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
They work under functional testing area.
So then, Akshay,
Not sure.
wherever you are going, yeah, wherever you are going, we know people, for sure.
Okay. It's just the thing is that is not my profile, but they are asking me for HSBC. So HSBC is like a big company, so I'm okay for it to working in a functional testing profile as well. But that's not my
You shouldn't
profile.
only be okay. You should be excited about HSBC. It's a big
HSBC
company.
is seriously a good firm. See, I am here working for
Yeah.
past 6 years and Hitesh would be like 10 years.
So that's why ना मैंने उनको हाँ कर दिया मैंने उनसे कुछ नहीं पूछा मैंने ये सोचा okay I know HSBC people okay go for it
Yeah. So
but
either
let's see
people stay there for about a year or they, end up spending about 8, 10, 12 years. So it's like this.
okay but it's the thing
So
is
very good to, yeah.
Dwarka से
Ankur,
Gurgaon is
Ankur would be feeling like let's just end this conversation and continue on the topic.
okay
No, next statement I
let's
like let's
stop
take it offline. So
Okay.
let's take it
let's talk
offline
later
and
on
sure, sure.
It's Ankur's benefit as well. One of Ankur's trainees getting opportunity somewhere in a big organization. That's Ankur's
Right, right.
achievement.
That's true, true. That's true. And the credit goes to all the folks there in HSBC actually. So not by me or not because of me only, but it's like we have been able to connect on a common place. So that's like everyone. All right, guys. So, Amit, welcome on board now. So, the question is like, I would like to pass that to you because none of us in this batch was able to get the end-to-end definition for me. So, my question is like, what is merging as per your understanding as of now?
Merging is very similar to joins in SQL we have.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mhm. So, Mhm.
Absolutely.
merging, yeah, merging two data sets into
Mm-hmm.
one. In what we have in
Perfect.
SAS. Yeah.
Perfect. So, yeah, that's exactly the same idea. I must have discussed this thing in the last conversation as well when we were talking about SAS. So, I just got that reminded, like we covered the SAS also with this batch. So, I need not to put a lot of efforts into this part. I would just be very quick. I would be more like reiterating all those conversations what I had earlier. So, merging is like adding one or more than one column from one table to another table using common variables match value. Can I say that as an end-to-end definition? It's more like adding the data column wise. Does that make sense? Moreover, when I'm talking about merging, I probably must have discussed all these things in the earlier conversation when we were talking about the same thing in the SAS module. That when we were talking about joins, we have to have first of all the idea about the relationship in the data. Do you guys remember that? Relationship is in the data is must to know.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's more about one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. In SAS, unfortunately, we could see we were not having any choice to have many to many merge, if you remember. And for that reason, alternatively, we were using proc SQL just to have a recap of that part. But in Python, we have all the possibilities there to go with. Correct?
So
Now, having
putting
said that,
one
yep.
data set, Ankur, quick question. Putting one data set just below another data set is not merging, it's appending, right?
Absolutely, that's what the next thing. So both of these two things, personally, I consider them as an under an umbrella of data combination. If I would like to reiterate the same story, from scratch, I would like to mention that being there in the data analytics world or data science world, we may have the data coming from various sources. You can have one table or more than, you can have more than one table coming from the various sources. Like you can have multiple Excel files or the CSV files. So eventually, to build a model, you are requested or required to get a one final consolidated table. And in that sense, either you can think of adding the data vertically or horizontally, isn't it so? So when it is required to add the data vertically, I can think of having merge. When it is all about adding the data vertically, then we can talk about appending. Appending is like
Ankur,
adding the, yeah.
Ankur, one more
is that
thing.
the definition that you said, merging a data column wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, column
So
wise
in
and
that,
row wise.
okay, row wise. So shall I say my full outer join is also a merge?
Full outer join. Full outer join is obviously a merge. Union is appending I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
Ankur,
mentioned column wise. I thought to ask because just combining a more two group of data in one data set, it's altogether merge.
No. See, if you will reiterate that, adding one or more than one column.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in your case, it might be like the complete set of the columns of one table to another table if you are talking about the full join.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay.
Now you highlighted
To
adding that wise, so I thought
adding
merge.
means like pulling the column. Like it's I'm more concerned about left join, right join, full join actually. So if you will consider that more in the perspective of left join, it's like adding couple of columns from the left table to from the right hand side table to the left hand side table would be called as left join in that scenario, isn't it? So
Yeah, got
is this is what the sense was.
also, Ankur, during SAS you mentioned that while merging data should be sorted. So is this
Mhm.
also applicable over here as well?
No, not really. In R and
Okay.
Python, in both these two scenarios, we have no as such a big concern and constraints about sorting. Let's talk about all these two multiple scenarios one after the another. But here I'm going to discuss a couple of additional things like appending. Let's have an idea about what the appending is all about. Appending so adding the entire data set or rows of one table below to another table. Okay, this is what the appending is. Just like if you want to have an analogy, it's more like union or union all. Okay. Okay, now this is what exactly the same thing what we had in SAS. If you want to bring some analogy, I would like to say we have proc append and SAS, or I was able to get the same thing done with the data statement, correct? Statement. Now we have one specific thing both in R and Python. This is the specific dedicated software for the data handling and the statistical part. As of now, we were understanding this keyword appending in the context of adding the rows below to another table, right? Like I can have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Four data frames are there, four data sets are there, which I am putting one below the another to get a annual data. Make sense? So let this be the four different data sets. And I can put them one below the another to bring a yearly data, isn't it so? Are you all with me? This is what typically the appending is. When I say appending, appending is being considered more in the context of rows. But here in R and Python, we do have an additional capability to append the column as well. That means you can add the columns also, or can append the data column wise. Does that make sense, guys? But all I want you to understand in a detailed fashion is that even though I am saying that I mean, instead of adding the data row wise, I can add the data column wise as well. I do have that feature and the capability. But that should not be mistaken and should not be confused with the merging. Could any one of you let me know what I'm trying to say? Merging would remain different aspect altogether, even though I'm saying that you can think of adding the data column wise. You can think of appending the data column wise. So appending is altogether a different concept. Even though when I'm saying that you can append the data column wise, you can append the column as well, but still merging is completely intact. Why is it so?
So, because in merging, it would be some kind of relationship or the common data using which the data gets flowed from one table to another. While in
Mhm.
append, I guess no relationship would be required. It just copy paste the data from one table to another for
Absolutely.
for a
That's
specific
exactly I
column.
was looking. Absolutely. That's exactly what I was looking for. When I say merge, one thing is very clear, guys, that you are all SQL champion. So in that sense, we should consider this idea that in merging, we were talking about the match values because of the reason one of you told me that it always happens on a common variable. And when I say it happens on a common variable, that means it would be only because of the match values. Correct? So C2, let's suppose customer IDs are there. C2 will be getting only the data for C2 only, even though whatever the order is, isn't it? That's what the matched values are all about. But here if I'm talking about appending the data column wise, it's simply being stripped off earlier and now being added into the picture, back into place. That's without considering and bothering about the order or the matched values or the composition. You will end up using this capability many of the times during the predictive modeling. You can think about this intuitively as of now itself. Like during the predictive modeling, what we will be doing is we will be predicting the values of a variable, and that would be like y variable, let us suppose. Correct? So at the end of the day, you will end up creating a one single variable, which would be like predicted value of y. This new variable you would like to add into the existing data, column wise of course, right? So with that sense, you can think of adding and appending the data column wise, so as to further use it for finding the error or RMSE or MAPE, all the other performance metrics of the data. Does that make sense? So this is what I wanted to help you understand in the context of merging and appending. The idea will remain same. Either you guys are doing that same job in R. We do have both the capabilities in R as well and in Python as well. Now, I would like to personally ask that are you guys done with the problem statement I gave you, finding the total return value of each year in each segment? If it is still not, then probably by end of the day today, there would not be any excuse further, I believe. Why? Because you must have all the required ingredients in place for you to finally cook the recipe. We have discussed the grouping, we have discussed how to subset the column, we have discussed how to create a column. Now we have also discussed the merging. So with that way, I really don't feel and believe that there is anything left to be discussed for you to crack this problem statement. So can I expect the solution from you guys after this session for that problem statement earlier? I have already shared the solution, but still I would like you to revisit that part. Make sense?
Ankur, I think the task that you have given, or is it a sample store thing that you are asking for?
And that was also on a sample superstore. Last
Okay, so
problem statement is still
yeah,
intact.
I know
Yeah, I
that.
remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
this I
more like
know.
sorting the data set. That was like very instant. So have you guys tried
Yeah.
this as well at your end? Did anyone tried that?
I have it ready in my like notebook, but I haven't tried it on Jupyter.
Okay. So what about other folks? Have you guys give it a try there? Aditi, Nikita,
No, uncle.
come
I
on.
tried, but I couldn't attain the sort thing there, so I still have to check. Yeah, so
No, it's like
there were certain challenges, but I tried. Yeah.
okay. So let's move further. Let's talk about merging. What is merging, guys? Adding one or this is my personal definition. I may not ensure you that this is exactly what you are going to find in your uh, textbooks or definitions, but this is what I believe is the best one for you to understand the simplest most fashion. Adding one or more than one column from one table to another table based on common variables match value, correct? Same as what you typically get that from uh, VLOOKUP or they like SQL and joins in SQL. So here we go. So actually I did some commenting there for you to understand the things in a right fashion. Here I can put that for you. So these are all the areas what you could be concerned, like left join, right join, inner join, full join, self join, and de-join. And make sure you understand the relationship between the data whenever you are going for joins. And I hope we must have discussed this thing, the various combinations you remember in SAS. I must have discussed these scenarios, like how many rows I will have. So there is a time like I would like to reiterate that with Akshay because I believe Akshay was not there with us, and even Nikita, you were there with us in SAS, right?
I know how
Yes,
these
sir.
relationship works.
So okay,
Studied
perfect.
in
So let's have a quick recap. I mean, this is a recap for all the existing students, and because you were not there, Akshay, in the SAS module, so it would be a quick check for you. how you have to think about all these situations. Okay. So,
Sure.
and it would be probably a preparation activity as well before you reach out to the HSBC interview.
Going to, I believe they won't be asking me this thing.
No, no, this is the easiest most thing. I mean, this has to be asked for from anyone whosoever is working in the IT sector.
Okay.
All right. Now, my question is, let us suppose these are the two tables where T1 and T2, and these are the common variables in between these two tables. This is left table, and this is the right table I'm considering. My question is from Akshay, is that if I will go for left join, what do you think would be the total number of observations I will have in my output data set after doing the left join?
So it will have C2, C3, and C4. C5 won't be
Mhm.
there. Rest other
Absolutely.
column
Absolutely.
values of right table would be there in left join.
So how many records total you think should be there?
4 and 3, 7, 9, 9 record.
Hmm, I cannot consider this being 9. How come this could be 9? I mean, you are more than expected. And just revisit this once again and then let me know.
Basically, I'm joining the values of left table and right table. So C1 would be twice, like C1 from left table and C1 from right table. I'm counting them
No, no,
twice.
why it would be twice? It's like common table. Like this is like client ID and this is also client ID. Like this is a common variable. Okay.
Okay, so then it would be like 4 only.
Not really.
Looks like I'm doing some sort of mistakes then.
Let me make it easy for you. I believe you are getting confused as well. Let us suppose this is client ID,
Six number?
and
Six?
just a second, guys. And here we have age. Okay, so a lot of ages are there. This is another table where we have client ID, and here we have address. Let us suppose. Got that now? Now merge
Okay,
these two tables based on the client ID, and then tell me how many observations will be there if I will go for left join.
Six.
So six would
Six.
be the right answer, Akshay.
I came up with 5. How much? Like C1 would be 1, 2 of C2. Sorry, 3 of C2. C2. Yeah, okay, fine now.
Mm,
6.
6 would be the answer. Now, because
Yeah,
you
1
have
is.
got the clarity why 6, so you can just quickly revisit that part. Let us suppose I have changed this left table from this to this now, and again going for left join. Now tell me how many records will be there. If you are giving me the final answer in a one single shot without any reconsideration, then I will consider that you are fine with the understanding. Otherwise, I need to check it once again. Okay, Akshay, all yours. This is the new left table for you, and tell me now how many final records there in the output table.
6.
Hmm. No, you have to revisit that part once again. So, what would be the right answer, guys? Come
I
on.
guess I guess it would be
No,
six
no, there
only.
is no point to there is no point for you to guess as of now. I mean,
Nine.
if you're just guessing it right away in this second iteration itself, then it's a big challenge. Then it's a big thing.
Nine.
9 would
records.
be the right answer. 9 would be the right answer. I hope this is clear. Y9.
Yeah, it is.
Akshay, did you get the clarity now?
Yeah, they basically were counting C2 twice, like
Absolutely.
C2, then yeah.
So there are C2, I mean, two entries of C2 in the left table, and two entries of, I mean, three entries of C2 in the right table. So altogether, M into N, the cross product and the Cartesian product always runs behind the join. So altogether, you will have six entries for C2. That means six entries for C2, one entry for C1, one entry for C2, C3, one entry for C4. So altogether, nine entries are there. Does that explain each and everything now to everyone?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So this is what I wanted to bring into your kind consideration, because as far as the implementation of all these things in Python is concerned, that's never been a challenge, I told you, because it's all about understanding the code. And obviously, like there has to be some similarity. So just to make our life easy, I have just kept two simple dedicated data sets for you to understand the entire idea about merging. Here is the data. This data has already been shared with you and is lying there in your folder. So the one which I am now going to discuss would be the left data set, and I have given the symbolic reference table to the right table as well. Opening that too. So you can see a table is right there. I mean, with the name called left R. For just for the sake of simplicity, I'm removing this additional entry for a while. So here we go. Let me minimize this table, and you can see both these tables right there on front of your screen. So first of all, I would like to know which type of relationship is this in these two tables. If I'm going to join them on based on the client ID, is it one to one, one to many, or many to many?
One to one.
It's a one to one because one single entry of a one particular type is appearing only once in the one table, right? Are you all with me?
Yeah.
So Let me save these two tables, Control S and Control S, and here we go. Importing these two files. With a simple pandas function called read.csv. I have already set my working directory to this where both these files reside. So LT and the RT are the two files which I'm getting imported here. These are the two exact same files what I just shown you. And because I have saved them, so it would be like only one-to-one relationship. And you can quickly check that if I will put LT, you could see LT is there, correct? If I will print RT, then RT is there. All right. So based on these two files, I would now be showing you the merge. As I told you, more or less, you will have the same type of the function names. Otherwise, Googling will definitely help you to the larger extent to get the exact name of the functions. Like here, the function name is merge, which obviously you could see coming from the pandas package. And here the attributes are left table name, right table name, the common variable in between the left table and the right table, and what type of join you want to perform. Here we have an additional argument to be added, which is like something, a very niche feature, which if you want to add, you can have that. It's called an indicator. Indicator tells me which particular observation value is coming from which table. Let me first of all run this, and then you can automatically understand how the results are getting generated, and it would be easy for me to explain thereafter. Obviously, when I have executed this with the left join, you will get all the entries for the left table. And because you are not having address for C5, because C5 was not there in the right table, so you got NaN here, which is a missing value. Because you have added this indicator as true, you could see underscore merge is the keyword you got created. And based on that, you have an idea that C1 is actually appearing in both the tables. It was there in left and as well as in right, and so on. But C5 was only there in left table. So this is what the merge indicator does. If I will change this argument from left to right, you could see right output, right join will be there, and in that sense you could see C6 was not there in the right table, so for that reason I got NaN here in this case, and I got right only. If I want to have inner join, you could see I got only C1, C2, C3, C4 because these are the only four entries which contains in both the tables. So this just only follows the Venn diagram what we have been discussing a lot earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was here and 6 was here. Just this Venn diagram. Am I clear with this, guys?
Can you just explain left on ID, right on ID? It's just to set the sequence how I want to merge the tables.
No. This is telling you the common
Okay,
variable name
okay.
which you want to connect with these two tables. So here
So,
you have
so
a
in
choice. Sorry to interrupt. In SAS, you were having a compulsion that you have to have a same variable name for both the tables, right? Because you had only one name provision to mention because it was only by statement, and within that you can have a scope of passing only one variable name, isn't it so? But here you have
Mhm.
a choice. Like even though the names are different, then also you can because names could differ, right? Instead of ID, you can have client ID or customer ID like this. But at the end of the day, they both of these two variables stands for the same purpose.
Mm. So our left table is, the table which has the variable starting with ID is appearing on the left side because of the first statement that you have written left equals to LT and right equals to RT. So the sequence will always remain same, or if I want to change it and I want to have a CID as my first column, then in this prompt I'll have to write as if like left equals to RT and right equals to FT so that I can have my RT table data coming in the beginning? Is it?
No, no, no.
So you're getting me in both the cases. Uh,
And then I got that. I
the
got that.
sequence of
So
my
all
column
I'm
remains same.
absolutely. So that makes sense to me. Uh, but the point is like you, as far as your merging is concerned, as far as the merging is concerned, you will definitely be getting the output in this form itself because you have mentioned the left is equals to LT. So the left variables will be coming first and then the right table will be followed after that. In case if you want to shuffle around with these variable names, then you have to put the columns of setting later on next step. You can play around with these column ordering in the next step. And that is going to be very simple. You can play simply around with this
Mhm.
indexing component using this square bracket. You remember that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can simply put that into this place. So merging will by default be giving you the same way and the same result.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Just a
So,
small question. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Go ahead,
so
please.
I just wanted to know that what would be the preference of this how statement? Can you explain this in term of Excel or SQL, please?
Okay. Is it Aditi?
Yes.
Aditi, this is just you want to understand what is left join, what is right join. Is that what you are saying?
No, 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 no. So we have
So
used
that is what
how
exactly this is all
equals to.
about.
Okay, so how is generally that how we want to perform this operation, this task.
That's it. That's what this is also the only place I was changing the value, isn't it? So earlier it was left, then I changed it to right, then I changed it to inner. This is the only place where I'm telling like which type
Okay,
of join you want to have. That's it.
okay, okay.
Okay. All
Okay,
right,
so
guys.
Ankur,
So there, go ahead,
sorry.
Akshay.
In cell 1, you have imported OS directory. So is it the predefined step that we have to follow if we are like reading our file directly from our directory itself?
No, 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 not from R. This is like OS means operating system. This contains
Okay.
generally this function for me to change the path and to set the directory. So this has nothing to do with the R or anything like that. This is just to fetch these functions so as to handle the directory and the folders there in Python and
So
to
these are the like predefined statements that we have to use in case we are reading our Excel file or CSV file from our directory.
absolute.
Okay.
Not really a directory. See, all in all, what I'm trying to say is that this is the concept which I have used in a work. This like there is something called working directory. I must have told you. Did I discuss working directory concept, guys? Online guys, did I discuss working directory?
I don't remember it.
No, no,
Okay,
not in
so
Python.
all right. So here we can discuss that. So working directory is actually so this is good thing Akshay you have raised that is actually a default folder you have where you can read the data and from in caps letter and can write the data to. Got that now? So this is actually going to be a default folder. Akshay, what generally happens instead of giving the entire path again and again, in case if you are supposed to pull multiple files from the same location, you can actually make a folder as a D folder, which Python or R
Okay.
can understand that this is the folder which you want to consider from where you can read the data directly without giving the entire path or can read it directly to. Okay,
But
just
that
like the
particular
way
folder
in
needs,
your yeah, so I'm making this folder as a default folder in this case, data set R. So in this case, I need not to mention the entire path, only the file name will help is helping you.
okay, and your
See,
dataset R contains this particular file itself.
yes, my data set R is a folder name which contains all the files whatever I have.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
And chdir is like change the directory is a function there. Get cwd is like get the current working directory. So this will print me which one is the current working directory. So because I have changed that, I'm getting this one. In your case, if you have opened a new session, it will always be showing you the my documents or wherever the anaconda is loaded. Okay.
Uncle, also, are these the mandatory parameter we use in merge? Left, right on how the
Yeah, so
data.
these four are going to be the mandatory parameters. You can skip that. Sorry, how is still by default its default value is inner. So if in wherever or in case if you want to reach out to all these things, ed dot let's default that. So here we go. So how default is inner. So you have to have the left name and the right name table name. And how is optional because by default if you are not passing anything, it will be giving you a inner. Okay.
Left, right, outer, inner. Okay.
All right, guys. So anyone having any doubt with this? So much, I mean, help window is something which you will always be relying upon for each and everything. Like if someone is asking, what should I do if I want to have full join? Then pause the keyword is outer. What should I do if I want to have a right join? The keyword is right. You need not to learn all these things, but helping and looking into the help window will get you all the answers there. Okay. And we will also have a summary of all these elements how and where you can use them. Most often we don't bother about rest of the other things, but we just focus on the delimited portion in many of the functions, whichever I believe is like whichever we believe is going to be the important ones. So this is what the joins and the merging is. Let me make some flavors there. The one which we were discussing earlier, right table, I'm adding two additional rows for the sake of your clarity. C2, D11, D111, and this is going to be C2 control S, and this is now going to be one too many, guys, isn't it so? Because I have three entries of C2 in the right table as compared to one entry of C2 in the left table. Does that make sense? This is one too many. Even if I'm going for left join, then also I will have how many records, Akshay? 6 records. Correct? Could you see that? Sorry, 7 record because here I have one more, like C5 is also there. So 3 entries for C2, 1 entry for C1, C3, C4, C5. Got that?
Yeah.
Let me make a change here in left table as well and adding one more C2. So what do you think would be the total number of entries? So 2 C2 is here, 3 is there in the right hand side table. So altogether I must have 6 entries of C2, 1 entry of C1 here, then one for this, one for this, one for this. So 6 plus 4, 10 entries is what I am expecting. Sorry, I haven't run this. Saving the file, reading that, and you can see I have 10 entries. Make sense?
Yes.
Anyone having any doubt, question, concern with this merging in Python, guys?
Uncle, can you do a tweak bit? I would like to pass a name range of the dataset in Excel. Likewise, we are doing left and right, LT and RT.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I have three dataset in my Excel table. Those are predefined
Mm-hmm.
data range. And instead of doing the joins or any other task, can we pass that name range?
Mm, I couldn't understand. Like name range means like you want to mention these location or a memory location there?
No, no, no. In Excel, we have the ranges, right? Where we pass the name
Right,
ranges.
right, right,
So
right,
we can so some of the ranges can be dynamic, some of them may not be dynamic.
right.
So let's say I have a dynamic range. So where I have multiple data sets in a one sheet itself. So data range play a table role for me where we usually play with my record sets. So like in your column A and B, you have mentioned few of the uh, attributes or data. So if I add that in the name range and I would like to use that name range here.
Uh,
Not clear?
Let me just try to get into the depth of the question. So, is it Anshul I'm talking with, first of all?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Anshul, so I'm not very sure, but all in all, what I would like to reiterate that the moment you are done with this, you have the Python object now in the form of LT and RT.
Hmm.
So no more name ranges. Excel part has gone now.
No, which is fine. But when we read the files, it could be Excel file,
Mm-hmm.
it could be CSV file, it could be any one of the file. Excel file, it could
Right,
be, right? Right
right.
now we are using CSV. It could
Yeah,
be Excel or anything.
yeah.
So in Excel file, we when we have the data here, we may not have one data set. It could be n number of data set could be there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can create your own name range as well. So my simple question is, I would like to
No,
use
no,
that
just a
name
second,
range.
just a second, just a second. Here is a catch. I think we need to understand that. So in
Mhm.
Excel file, you are saying like you can have multiple tables, right? And
Multiple name
in order to
ranges.
get, yeah, multiple name ranges or tables. So in order to get that data into Python, we have to have a mechanism for getting all that data separately in the different objects altogether.
Hmm.
And for that, I have to write a specific code, maybe in an automated manner or getting some other dynamic features into the picture. So that's more about that's more about getting the data or automating the script there.
How we would that do that?
So for that, you can create your user-defined function and can call it iteratively in a loop, making the Excel file changes and having the names there.
Mm,
Okay, or you can create a class and can call it again and again. So that depends how you want to make it up. But that is surely has nothing to do with merging as of now. That's like more about how you are writing a Python script code so as to automate the way how you are reading the data. Correct, Anshul?
so
So if
LT
you
is
want,
nothing. It's in table
yeah.
role here.
So if you want, no, no, this has nothing to do with the table. So all in all, just consider it more like I have two Python objects. One is LT and one is RT. That's it. If you want to have
Mhm.
something else, you can have thousands of other such objects. And it's all up to you if you want to have thousand separate codes for this, or you are writing the one automated code to read these thousand files. That's it. The one which you are asking is like, I want to have a specialized code with the help of which I can mitigate my efforts and the task and can read the different files with just one script, right? That's more about the automation of the script. As of now, I don't have the thought and the solution for that. But if you want, I can share that and can roll out to you after working on that.
So that could be a kind of user defined, you're saying.
Yes,
So
yes, absolutely. Or
is
maybe
that
like you can create a class.
is that something that all the Excel libraries, or I would say dictionaries or libraries, references that we have, they directly
Mhm.
does not support Python.
Excel library. So just to understand your
That's the
question correctly, Anshu, what exactly do you mean by Excel libraries? I mean Excel library. What exactly does it means?
No, likewise, we are discussing this ranges. Ranges directly cannot be pulled here. So is that right to say when somebody asks in Python we cannot directly engage our Excel objects because when it get
Absolutely,
imported here,
absolutely. No, no,
all
no. We
the
cannot. We cannot
Python objects
definitely have that.
get
No. So we need to understand this idea. Excel. So okay, now probably Anshul. I mean, this is for everyone, guys. We have
This is
various
not
tools.
question. Just I wanted to engage clearing myself when I'm engaging
Yes, yes,
myself
absolutely.
Python or Excel. What are the thing I can achieve it, and what are if what
Yeah,
are
just
not,
telling you this. Let's
then what is
come
the
to that
other
part.
way?
Let's come to that part. So you can see I have several boxes being created, and let me name them like Excel, SQL, SAS, R, Python. Point is like, practically speaking, I can do few things in all the tools, be it Excel, SQL, SAS, or Python. And those few things are like only related to the descriptive part where you are thinking of just doing some pivoting, grouping, and summarizing. Correct. But practically these dif- different tools are all together for the different reason and for the different purpose. Where Excel is more like a spreadsheet, a reporting and a dashboard tool where you can hold some limited data and can work on that. SQL is altogether a different tool where I cannot really compare how Excel is similar to SQL or SQL is similar to Excel. It is more like a RDBMS, and for that reason, we have all the um, normalization one, two, three, all the basic rules of the database handling there, right? I do have. So there are six type of job profiles in SQL. I believe you must be knowing all everyone, right? SQL developer, SQL RDBA, SQL DBA, SQL scientist, and so on and so forth, right? So see, we are focusing on SQL queries where we can pull the data. Now, on the other part, on the other side of the table, we have these tools like SAS or Python. All these three tools are for the data analytics purpose, scientifically or statistically, whereas they possess a lot of similarity, but still I can have a lot of differentiations in these two tools as well, considering the features, functionalities, pricings, memory, scalability, and so on and so forth. But still, I would like to say that Excel, SQL, and these two tools, like if in my case it is Python as of now, I should not and cannot compare them. We can integrate SQL with Python or Excel with Python to one way or the another to a certain extent, but functionality is there in Excel. All of them cannot be retrieved and engaged there in Python or even in R or in SAS. Does that make sense? Because their objective, their idea, and their significance is different. Python is a scripting language now being used for the data science purpose because of the availability of some robust libraries. Okay. Anshul, if I'm not wrong, this is what probably you were asking. If you have anything else to be discussed, I would be happy to answer that part as well.
Mm, somehow, somehow I have a disconnect here. I'm not sure how come my MS Office uh, is not able to compatible with my Python. Because if I'm not allowing to do so, then
In MS
the automation
Office, MS Office means okay, as Office suite you are talking about. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, so the automation that we do with MS Office products, and if we are transforming them into Python, then how we are going to achieve? And if first question, this is achievable, and if it is so, then what are the other various way? Because people are automating their, processes which is in Excel based in Python. And if they are doing so, what are the other things we have to keep them in mind? Is that the only user-defined function is the only way, or is that something which I don't know, which I
All
really
right,
don't know? So
all right.
got to ask.
I got that. So you're talking about the Excel processes and the products to be transformed into Python products, right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
this has nothing to do with the data science. It's all about migration, which is more like the development part. I mean, mostly you could see easily like Excel processes are not the just a second, guys. Excel processes are not really the data science specific projects. They are process-driven, process-oriented projects where you are having a maybe like a buttons, plug and plays, and maybe like a VBA code is integrated behind that. So
Uh-huh.
all in all, like let me give an example. Forget about Excel. I have been, let me tell you my personal experience, what I am currently going through with. So there are a lot of SaaS projects are running across. Okay, so I am supposed to get the same task done with Python. So technically speaking, SAS and Python are of the same era, right? And they are being created keeping the same perspective in mind. But still,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot think of just getting this SAS entire process being integrated with Python without doing anything. All in all, Anshul, what I'm trying to say that I actually had recreated or written the entire SAS logic in Python. And for that same reason, I'm telling you that in case if you're looking to get something being there in Python, whatever you have been doing in Excel, we cannot think of just integrating that process in Python. That automated code has to be written in Python language then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We can use the objects and can integrate them in some way or the another, but at the end of the day you have to design and have to engineer your logic and have to write your logic there in Python as a platform, whatever you were doing in Excel. I'm not saying that you cannot do that in Python. In fact, I would say you can better do that in Python, which would be more easier to go and to write a code with. But at the end of the day, I cannot think of just simply integrating whatever you have written in Excel to be executed without doing anything else in Python. You have to have that logic being written in Python so as to be executed in Python.
So in nutshell, there would be a different logic what we are doing in, automating these scripts in MS Office products,
Right.
which we need to see.
Yeah. Different
Mm,
logic does not mean that different logic only meant for the Office products. It is like you just have to check into the way like what the VB codes are there. Are you using some loops? Obviously, Python loops are to be used for that as an alternative. Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
Same like it's just like going the same thing. You have been learning merging here in Python, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct? We have learned the merging in SAS as well. So if you have to get something in SAS, you were using the data statement merge command there, and now in Python you would be writing a code like this, as simple as that. Based on different platforms, your logic will be different and has to be compatible with that platform.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So before just getting proceed, since we are already in discussion, so
Sure.
if I nutshell, if I ask you, uh, when we do some automation in MS Office product, if one of them like it Excel, is that transformation can be done in Python, suit or the Python product using some different other languages as well? So is that achievable or not? If it yes, then the way we can think of it, find it the way, but it is achievable, right?
It
Because
is
people have
definitely achievable. This is definitely achievable.
uh, right.
Okay. Python
Because
has been a
end of
scripting language, yeah.
right.
And you can
Because
scale
end of
that up
the day,
because there are
my
challenges with the Excel in terms of handling the data, number of records, and like if your functions are getting bigger there in Excel, so the processing also gets delayed and slowed down, and many of the times Excel also corrupts. So you can think of, put that into Python and can scale that data. At the same logic, you can write that in Python without any trouble.
okay.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Angu, thanks. So I'll probably ask you one
All
more
right.
questions later after once I have dig
Sure.
into it, we can proceed further.
Sure. Sure. No worries. Feel free to ask. Feel free to ask. All right, guys. So, we are done with the merging part. The next topic I would now be discussing would be your appending, and I would be quick with that. So, appending the data could be done in this way, where you can think of having So from the same location, I'm fetching two files. You could have think of uh, so let me show you. This is df1. I just have changed the name from left R to right R so as to make it meaningful. This is df1, guys. This is df2. I'm recreating. So altogether in both the files, I have how many entries? 5 entries, correct? C12345, and in the another one I have C12346. So as far as your appending is concerned, I can, as I told you, I can do that in multiple ways. So first of all, there is a function called dot append, and what it does is it simply appends the data row wise. This appending is a typical appending. So df1 is the source data set, base data set, and how you are doing is like df1, below to the df1 you are appending df2. Okay, like in this case you will have C12345 and then being repeated again C12345. Sorry, df2 below to df1. So C12345 then C123456. Make sense? Now here is an interesting fact that because I was not having variable 2, I mean I must have discussed this thing in the SAS classes as well, guys. And there is no as such a need for me to re-explain that part again, correct? In first data set, you were not having variable 2. In the second data set, you were not having variable 1. So for that reason, during the appending, all the corresponding values got as NA. Does that make sense to everyone? Might be a possibility that you can think base is like df1, so I should have only the variable and the structure of the table 1 schema. And that also happens in the different tools. So for that, kindly understand the concept of appending in a detailed fashion, and then it all depends upon the platform. Like in R, it does not allow you to have a schema change. You will only be retaining with the base table schema, but Python allows you to do so. Then we have another method, which is concat. This is something which I was telling you, a special one, because with this way you can think of adding the data row wise or a column wise. So df is the list I got created using the two data frames df1 and df2. And as far as this result is concerned, axis 1 means I want to add the data column wise. So for that reason, you could see I got the data concatenated. How I got concatenated? With the keyword called axis. So for all the data frames, guys, I must have told you this thing earlier as well. If you want to handle the things in a multiple ways, then either you can do that with the name of the feature or you can put axis, because all the two-dimensional tables are having two axes. One stands for column and zero stands for rows. So here, if I will change that to 0, you could see df2 will be appended right below the df1, just like the way I was getting in the previous command. Make sense? So this concat is a function with the help of which you have a choice and a control over how you want to append these two tables, df1 and df2.
Anku, can you please explain this error in pink, because this is the one that I received during my task that you have given. This is the thing that confused me a lot.
No worry, this is just a warning, and warning is residing because of the concatenation. Concatenation based
Because
like
we don't
sorting
have,
is required. If your data would be sorted, you won't be getting this error. So you could have used the sort is equals to true. There must be a set argument as well there in order
there is
to
a
put these.
difference when there is a difference in column, then this particular error prompts out.
So this is not error, this is a warning. It is telling you that like the schema of these two tables are different, and moreover the data is also not sorted, like C1 is coming here and C1 is coming here. So for that reason you can see sorting because non-concatenation axis and axis are not aligned.
So this is something
So
that we
because
can
of
ignore.
we can and definitely ignore that. It's like because there is a discrepancy in the schema and the data. For that reason, you are getting this. That's it.
Okay. And just another
Yeah.
question, like concat and append are two same names interchangeably used.
Yes, I would say appending makes more sense as far as your data is concerned, because concatenation was being used or has been used very much frequently in the context of string, and we are more
Yeah,
about talking here with the
data.
data. But we have a dedicated name called concat, with the help of which we are concatenating the data row wise or column wise. So I would say no difference as such.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Ankur, during concatenation, if you have noticed, the sequence number on the left is again going from 0 to 5, and can you just scroll down a little, 0 to 4, and then
Mm-hmm.
restarting that again? So will that
Mm-hmm.
impact while fetching the results at a later
Yeah, so
stage?
there is always a additional argument or a function called reset underscore index. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
I
is
see that.
something you can always put there. So this will always be resetting the index. I'm not quite sure whether I have written the right syntax, but reset index is a formal way to reinitiating the syntax whenever you are creating an any object. Okay, this is like starting that from 0 to n minus 1. It's
Mhm.
always valid in sorting. We always do that, and grouping also we always do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let me put that in a comment section for your reference. Reset underscore index could be used for resetting the index from 0 to and minus 1 for the carousel. Make sense now?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Alright guys, so this is all for the class today. Anyone having any doubt, question, concern? I hope you are now good to start working on the problem statement which I gave you. Total return value of each year in segment, and also attempt the multiple ones which I shared with you in last class.
Yeah, it should be good.
So sorting, grouping, merging, appending is done. Next class we will be talking about the missing values, duplicates, and we'll talk about the bunning and bucketing. Anyone having any doubt before we call it today? So yeah, one quick note, guys. Saturday I'm planning not to miss the class. I know I got this information from Aditi that you would be having a party, but trust me, guys. I mean, I also ensure that uh, whatsoever the commitments are there, I also try to not miss the class to the largest extent possible, to the best of my capabilities. And because we are already running far behind the scheduled target, uh, I would strongly suggest and recommend everyone try to make that class for Saturday. But in case couple of you are not able to make that up, the recorded session would be there. All I can do is like just not to break the momentum. I can reduce the class, maybe not for 2 hours. I can put that for 1.5 hour or so. But I would like to get in the momentum and to continue with the class. Otherwise, like we will be just getting into our comfort zone and we'll just keep on getting to raise the request for canceling the classes even for the weekends. So at least I want to make sure that weekends are reserved. Make sense?
Mhm. Yep.
So I
Uh,
mean, two things. Yeah, I know there would be like a couple of you wouldn't be having a challenge to go with that Saturday class coming Saturday, but don't worry. I would be happy to take all your doubts in the next class Sunday. So nothing is going to be lost as such. So, but let's go first
Next
with the
class is
important
on
thing.
Sunday or next Wednesday?
Saturday and Sunday, we will be having class on both the days.
Okay.
So starting from this week, we are getting classes on both Saturdays and Sundays.
So three class in a week.
I would be happy to have that because we are not the entire 3 hour class. So maybe to pull it up, we can have that. Or maybe Wednesday we can keep it an optional. If everyone is there, we can have that. Otherwise, we would be in a position to skip that Wednesday class as well, in case if majority of us are not available on Wednesdays. But for that, we have to cover the good content there on Saturday and Sunday as
yep.
well.
No problems.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah, sure. All right, guys. So I think we are all done with that. So thank you so much for all your time, patience, efforts, guys. Anshul, is there something which you want to share there?
Yes, Uncle. Just wanted to get the context of the Python that we did. So far we are good. That we are reading the data. Now we are massaging the data, uh,
Hmm.
making some alteration, updation, deletion, joins, and all that.
Yeah.
And if I talk about in a data model perspective, so after massaging the data, like all the activity that we do in SQL, data massaging, and reading through from the objects, FS browsing the data, picking the data, that is concluded now. Uh, Now in the next few classes that we are going to cover it, what are the few things we will be adding it apart from data massaging? Because in data massaging, a lot of function will be in picture. So not in. I don't want asking you the functions that we're going to, but what are the final object we are covering it
So
apart from
we still need to get content with the momentum. So so as to give you the complete outline, we will be talking about uh, binning, bucketing, missing values, outliers, duplicate, and some of the key functions for statistics, like which would be covered in the binning and bucketing as well. Let me write here, not to get confused, like cut function, q cut function. So with this way, once we are done with that, I will be talking about data visualization. That will take the one complete session, charting and graphics in Python. If you want, I can share this class as a recorded session as well, where we have all it. I mean, you can cover it that, but it's a separate conversation altogether. Okay, you can paste that up as per your convenience. I can share that as an offline one. So data visualization. Once we are done with all these things, there would be like I will then be starting with inferential statistics. Where I will be talking about the significance of probabilities there into the picture. And in this context, we will be talking about the central tendencies. Uh, if you want, I can share the end-to-end TOC and the content there as well, guys. It would be challenging for me to write each and every topic there in the Excel file. I can share the ready-made available TOC for you to compare the topics. So inferential statistics, probability, central tendencies, mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation, what is p-value, what is hypothesis testing. So this is going to be important one. I mean, as far as the main agenda is concerned, we will be covering the statistical analysis. Within that, my entire focus would be, this is where my expertise lies actually. Hypothesis testing. I will be talking about t-test, z-test, chi-square test, and ANOVA. This is where something you would be having an expertise with going down the line, which comes under the key feature of the inferential statistics. This would take one or two classes. We'll talk about the central tendency, standard deviation, variance in detail, very much in detail, confidence interval, and all sort of these things. Then we'll talk about the predictive modeling. In predictive modeling, we will be talking about the regression. In regression, we will be talking about linear and logistics. And rest is going to be the surprise, guys. I just don't want to lay out the highlights. Otherwise, my magic will be diminished if I will put that into the picture. Okay, so this is how we will be moving ahead with the upcoming classes.
hmm
Anshul, make sense?
Yeah, and Uncle, last class, probably over the last two class, Amit has raised one question about the forms, like how we are connecting with the forms when we are entering the data. So I just wanted to
I think
convince
I
Amit.
answered that query to Amit,
Yes,
right?
yes,
I
yes, you
remember
did.
that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So for example, I have a one data model already in my MS Access tool. which is a library management, which we have created so far away,
Mm-hmm.
long back. So
Mm-hmm.
the same data model, my library management for my college, which I have created it. I would like to transform that into the Python. So for that, I would need a one graphical user interface where I will allow my users to fetch the data, to input
Mm-hmm.
the data, and that data gets stored probably in database, could be SQL, MS Access, or anything. And my scripting would be my Python.
Okay,
So
I got your point. So what I will do, I just got this query and I will look into some my other content where I can find some pre-created code. If something is lying with me, I will share that. So I'm sure I think we can take that offline anytime, right? So I will search out something, my folder, my other archive folders must be having something into that way, where we have
mhm,
some page, some front end page where you can get the data as per the user input and can put that for the Python script to be processed further and can build a model. This is what you are asking for, right?
yes, yes, yes. And this is the major requirement from our batch, because end of this training session, my expectation from myself is that whatsoever we have in my existing, it could be Excel, Access, SQL Server, whatever the data model we have, we would like to transform them in Python. So for front end, the form which we have created in Excel or in MS Access, that can be done through any one of the graphical user interface, and my scripting retain my Python and data source remain same whatsoever we.
Sure,
So at
sure.
least
I mean, this is
we got
doable.
the 20%
I will
contribution.
check that whether
If
or
we get
not it is,
it, we are
yeah,
good.
definitely. I will check that, or maybe like you can drop an email. I mean, so that
Mm,
it keeps there at the top of my priority. So you can drop me an email for that job, and I will share that input as per your requirement. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
Um,
All right, guys. Perfect.
Ankur, one last question I would say for the day. So, Ankur,
Mm-hmm.
where we will be using the arrays, the list, the functions. I'm not sure that we are just moving ahead with the topics. So, not sure if everyone are in line with that. Okay, what exactly the I know that we did cover, but that was a very small fraction of that list part, arrays, functions, dictionaries for that matter. So, where exactly we will be using these things?
All right, perfect. So, Amit, thank you for bringing in this into a kind consideration. All in all, we have learned all these things in bits and pieces. The real flavor will start once we are getting this. So, when I am talking about linear regression, it's not like I'm so I can so if you want to understand linear regression, this is done. This is like linear underscore regression as a function name, but this is not only I'm telling you. If you remember in the very first conversation, we discussed that 50 to 80% of your time in any project or any assignment related to any predictive modeling goes into the data handling. So
Yeah.
my respected friends there, so we have somewhere close to 10 or 12 different techniques to be covered in this list. Okay, linear, logistic, KNN, SVN, decision tree, random forest, naive Bayes, and so on and so forth. So, Amit, just to answer your query, we are reiterating all the conversations, whatever we have covered earlier, not once, not twice, but majorly somewhere iterating 12 times in the different way, in the different manner, based on the different case studies. Because at the end of the day, when I say predictive modeling, you have to build a model. But for that, you have to clean, prepare, understand the data, and there all the things will come into the picture, be it the user-defined function, be it the apply, map apply function, or so on and so forth. At the top of it, I will also be going to share few assignments for you to practice out those things, for which you can have a consolidated idea how these things are going to be used. But at the end of the day, this linear regression, this logistic regression, KNN, SVM, K means clustering, classification, time series, all these things will eventually be using all this entire idea. Okay, all the topics whatever we have covered, it's not like you will be able to build a linear regression without doing binning, bucketing, appending. You have to have without doing missing values, outlier, duplicate. All these things will be called up back and forth again and again. But in that scenario, I'm not going to tell you like this is the place you have to do the missing value treatment or the outlier treatment or the merging. It would certainly be depending on the requirement there in the data. Okay, so not once, not twice, in a collective fashion that would be repeated somewhere close to 12 to 15 times. Does that make sense? So the real implementation and the practical part will be starting once we are getting started with the predictive modeling. As of now, I'm just getting you comfortable and giving you the chisel and hammer so that you can understand, okay, these are the tools what you have to use that going down the line. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone? Amit, are you with me?
Yeah.
Perfect, guys. So let's connect on Saturday, same time. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your party. Thank you so much for the time and efforts. And I could again see that few of majority of us are not watching the recorded sessions. I'm not very sure uh, who all those friends are, but again, please make sure that you are practicing enough at your end. My personal recommendation is like at least 1.5 hours on a daily basis, and you guys are mature enough to understand whether or not you are putting that enough time or not on a daily basis, so as to revisit all these things on an average.
Mhm.
So I can just recommend you, please be there. Please try to put these things at the top of your mind so that when we are doing the predictive modeling part, these are the only things going to be used. And during that time, you should not be getting stuck like, okay, this is the code you can write. And so better you are going through with all these things, better the understanding and the flexibility you will be having to understand the upcoming idea, because there would be a paradigm shift. As I told you, Abhi, as of now, we are learning the Python, the programming tool. The entire idea and the interest will be shifted from this as a platform to understand the statistics and the mathematics of the techniques there, machine learning and the regression and everything. During that time, if you are just getting stuck and rolled over with like how this merging code is working and how this grouping is working, so during that time, code will be there in front of you, and I will be only telling like I have this data on these variables. I will not be having that enough flexibility to tell you like this is how the grouping is done on Python, because grouping has already been discussed. So please make sure with the right expectation there. My entire idea would be to tell you why this grouping is done, and uh, grouping is like how that grouping is done is something you need to understand based on the Python code. Make sense, guys? Because there would be obvious change in the expectation. All right.
Mhm.
All right, no worries. So just be there. Just try to revisit those parts and go with the flow the way I'm telling you. I mean, I cannot assure you like if you are not following the recommended way of going through with all these things, how better it would be. But if you are seriously spending at least 1.5 hours on a daily basis on an average, things would be going to be really very easy. That is what all I can assure you. And with that way, I'm ending up with my conversation. Please be honest with the commitment, and things would be really be in favor with you, and you will definitely be having some sound confidence and the understanding with whatever we are doing, be it like reading the data, appending, sorting, merging, grouping, or whatever it is. More you are exposed with all these things, better the understanding you will have. All right, guys.
Mhm.
So this is all. Let's connect on Saturday. Thank you so much for all your time, patience, efforts. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your party. Take care, please.
Thank you, Ankur.
Thank
Thank you.